Oh, thank you all for coming. We are honored to be here today with Terry Strada and Brett Eagleson and many other families of who have lost loved ones on September 11th. Together, they co-chair 9/11 Community United. Terry lost her husband Tom during the horrific attacks of September 11th, and in the years that followed, she has never once relented in her quest for accountability and justice. So I want to thank you for being here, Terry, and I know the loss of your husband weighs heavily on your heart, just as the loss of his father weighs heavily on Brett's heart. Indeed, all of the 9/11 families joining us today share in this pain. In just a few weeks, Americans will pause to reflect on the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. They will remember the nearly 3,000 Americans who lost their lives. They will recall where they were when they turned the TV on and watched the Twin Towers burn. They will think about how 9/11 changed our relationship with the world and how we travel in so many other ways. They will remember the spirit of unity that brought us together in the days that followed. But the truth is, for most Americans, 9/11 is not something that they think about each and every day. Terry, Brett, and their fellow 9/11 families do not have that luxury. For them, it's not just 20 years since the worst terrorist attack in our nation's history. It's 20 years of missed birthdays and holidays, graduations, weddings, family gatherings, and those everyday moments we all too often take for granted. I have the honor of representing many of these families in the Senate. Indeed, of the 2,974 people who perished in the 9/11 attacks, more than 700 called New Jersey home. For many of them, the 20th anniversary of September 11th will also mark 20 years without justice and accountability. That's what brings us together here today. For 20 years, 9/11 families and survivors have worked to hold the perpetrators of this attack responsible and bring them to justice. Yet year after year, their own federal government has refused to declassify documents that could shed light on any role that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or individuals from Saudi Arabia or from any country may have played in the 9/11 attacks. For example, in 2018, the FBI responded to a subpoena by claiming that locating these documents and declassifying them would be too burdensome of a problem. But I respectfully suggest that any bureaucratic burden pales in comparison to the burden that weighs down on our 9/11 families. Then in 2020, former Attorney General William Barr and then acting National Director of Intelligence Grinnell invoked the, quote, state secrets privilege to block access to some of these documents with no explanation at all. Attorney General Barr actually claimed that even the simple act of explaining the Trump administration's rationale for withholding this information would threaten our national security. Well, I don't know, but given the past administration's reputation for kowtowing to the Saudis, I question exactly who they were protecting by invoking the state secrets privilege. These families want answers. They want justice. They want accountability. But without transparency, they will be denied all three. That's why today I'm introducing the September 11th Transparency Act, bipartisan legislation, along with Senators Cornyn, Senator Blumenthal on the Judiciary Committee will be joining us shortly to speak, Majority Leader Schumer, Senator Chuck Grassley, Senator Booker, Senator Gillibrand, and on the House side, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries will introduce the same legislation with other colleagues. And I want to thank them all for their leadership. This bill would direct and require the Director of National Intelligence, the Attorney General, and the Director of the CIA to conduct a timely review of all the relevant documents and declassify them as appropriate. And if the agencies do not declassify a document or record, they will be required to provide Congress with a justification for that decision. So we will at least know that a document or record exists by them saying that we have a record, but we are not going to declassify it for whatever reason, and then Congress can act upon that. This bill is modeled under the Abbottabad bin Laden raid document declassification in 2014. That declassification brought a treasure trove of documents and insights into this whole tragic matter. I've always stood by 9/11 families and survivors in their quest for justice. Back in 2015, I joined Senator Corden in an effort to pass the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act through the Senate with a veto-proof majority. The passage of that legislation, known as JASTA, was a major step forward for 9/11 families seeking to have their day in court. But as a former trial attorney, I can tell you, you can't make your day in court if you don't have the facts and the information to be able to make your case. It's now incumbent on us to make sure they have a fair shot in court by passing the September 11th Transparency Act. After all, any lawyer will tell you that getting your day in court only takes you so far. You have to have strong evidence to make your case. So let me close by saying I don't deny that sometimes the federal government has a legitimate reason to withhold classified documents. For example, there are times when disclosing information prematurely could jeopardize ongoing intelligence efforts in the field. But let's get real here. We're talking about the declassification of evidence relating to an attack that took place 20 years ago. And not just any attack, an attack that claimed nearly 3,000 American lives. If the United States government is sitting on any documents that may implicate Saudi Arabia or any individual or any country in the events of September 11th, these families and the American people have a right to know. If information is power, then we must give the 9/11 families access to that information and any power it provides them as they carry forward in their search for truth, justice, and accountability for the September 11th attacks. Now, since I've been told there's some Spanish press here, let me just say a few words in Spanish before I turn to Senator Blumenthal. Nuestros esfuerzos aquí hoy con las familias de septiembre 11 es para crear justicia, es para tener transparencia, es para asegurar que ellos pueden tener, después de perder tantas vidas de familias, la oportunidad de saber quién participó en ese día de infamia en septiembre 11. De clasificación de información que tiene el gobierno federal, sobre todo después de 20 años de que fue ese día trágico, es una forma de que estas familias pueden saber y, si es necesario, llevar su oportunidad a las Cortes de los Estados Unidos. Pero sin esa información no hay justicia. Sin esa información no hay fin. Sin esa información actualmente no se puede crear una clausura en esta herida. Y por eso estamos aquí para insistir que el gobierno federal, todo el Departamento de la CIA, el Departamento de Justicia, el Departamento de Inteligencia Nacional, tiene que revisar los documentos, declasificar esos que son elegibles bajo el proceso normal, y si no declasifican uno de los documentos, dejar el Congreso de los Estados Unidos saber el por qué no está declasificando ese documento. Eso simplemente es justicia.